All right, so what we're gonna do tonight is, for those of you who aren't familiar, I end up running around the country doing real estate seminars on fixing up properties. One of the things that I am known for is I end up dressing up as Homer, and I end up going to wherever it is that I'm giving a 3-day training. Part of my 3-day training is I end up showing you a bunch of tools that I would get at Home Depot. Most of them are under $29, and we put them in a toolbox called the Homer Investor Toolkit. Okay, and so it's an orange toolbox and everything. Everybody's seen them. I've brought them in here before. But I've added some of the tools and everything, and I'm going to end up showing them to you. I'm going to show you how they work. Like I say, these are anything from $2.99 on up to $29. And everybody should have some of these, even if you don't use them yourself. So I'll go ahead and start with, the other thing is, besides what she ended up bringing over here, Jeff Frank ended up securing, would you like to tell them how many of these brand new games?
27.
27 brand new Monopoly games, and we have unicorn poop.
We have 240 bottles of unicorn poop.
240 bottles of unicorn poop, also known for people who have kids and grandkids. This is slime. You know, the stuff that they end up talking about on Nickelodeon and all that. So this is slime and everything. It doesn't tear things up and everything. But thanks, Jeff, for that. The other thing, I'm gonna go ahead and pass this out before we get started. Everybody knows that being a member of one of the RIA groups and everything, then you get 20% off paint at Home Depot, and you get other benefits and everything, which are on the benefit package. But I'm gonna pass this around so that everybody, there's a little QR code right here. If you end up scanning this QR code, it's gonna allow you to download on your phone one of our other benefits, which is Office Depot Office Max, okay? So we end up getting black and white copies for 40% off, color copies over 25% off, book finishing and stuff like that. We get over 30% off. We get fast and free shipping of anything over $20 or more. It's free, ship free. We end up getting up to 50% off on all kinds of stuff, 40% off on office equipment, 55% off on paper, 55% off on office supplies, 30% off on printers and cartridges and color things, cleaning equipment, 20% off on computers and things like that. And basically all you have to do is scan this code on there, and you will end up being able to end up having those as part of your benefits too. So I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all pass this out. And if you wanna see the legislative updates and everything, take a picture of the second thing that's on here, because that's our legislative updates. Okay, now that being said, all right, so here's some of the coolest things that I've got. All right, how many of you have rental houses that, do y'all ever end up putting in your contract to where if something's under $100 or $150, then the person needs to end up paying for it themselves? Anybody do that? Okay. All right, so the last thing in the world that you want is somebody ending up doing something electrical on your house. I've had people in rental houses that they wanted to end up taking off, let's say that they wanted to replace a ceiling fan, or their kid broke the ceiling fan, and so they didn't want you to find out about it, so they're gonna replace the ceiling fan and everything. But if you don't have your breaker boxes marked correctly, then did you know that that's a code violation in some areas? Okay, it's literally a code violation. So here's what I did. Everybody in the whole world that I know normally ends up having somebody stand in a room and somebody else standing down by the breaker box. And they go click, 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 and then you go, that's the one, that's it, stop, that's the one. We've all done that, okay? But you see this right here, this is made by Ideal. This is a circuit analyzer, okay? A circuit analyzer. Or if you want to make it easy, circuit breaker finder. Anything that you have that you can plug into, and that means that if you ended up taking one of these light bulbs out right here, and you unscrewed this light bulb and put in one of those little screw-in socket things that something plugs into, you can do it for light bulbs too, okay? Or you can do it for lamps, whatever it is. But basically what you do is you take one of these, wherever you want to plug in, and you plug it in. Number one, it tells you that it's hot because it turns red. This right here, you end up taking this, wherever this is plugged in, whether you unplug, plug it into the same thing that your refrigerator's plugged in. Plug it into where your dryer's plugged in. Plug it into where your washer's plugged in. Anything that you want to know. Plug it in there and then walk over to your breaker box and turn this on like this and rub it over the top of the breakers. As soon as it gets to the breaker that turns that off, it'll go beep, 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 and it will end up flashing red. And then you take out your little thing that's a little typewriter and you type that this is for the refrigerator, this is for the washer, this is for the dryer, and you label it as anything that you end up wanting to know. And this is $19.99. Okay, I'm gonna pass this around. How many of you think that's a great thing to have?
That's a great idea. We used to use the radio.
Yeah.
You know, when you're by yourself, you find a way.
Yep. And so, not only do they have that one, but I know that I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm gonna do it anyway, because I'm pro Home Depot. But this one right here is probably a little bit cheaper, and you get this at Harbor Freight. Okay, it does the exact same thing, called a circuit detective. Okay, circuit detective. All right, so I'm all about saving money. That's one of the things that I like to teach people how to do. But the circuit detective is the same thing, and it's just a little bit cheaper. Okay.
Does it work if the, I guess it doesn't work if there's any sort of like electrical damage to the wiring?
If there is some electrical damage to the wiring, I've got another tool that's gonna show you what to do with that. But what it will do is, it'll only tell you what breaker on that. Okay, so the next thing is, a lot of people end up asking me simple questions, and simple questions like this are about caulk. All right, when I end up using caulk, I want to use a caulk that's a 25-year caulk or a 40-year caulk. The reason being is because I want it to last a long time. The other thing is that if you buy cheap caulk and you fill a hole with it, then it'll fall out of the hole before it dries, okay? If you use a cheap caulk, then you'll let it dry overnight and everything, and you'll think that it's cured, you'll paint over it, but then you paint over it and it never cured all the way through because it was not a good quality caulk. And now it's soft, and it will, when bumped, it will end up being bad. All right, so one of my favorite types of caulk for contracting is called White Lightning. Only thing is it's at Home Depot and Lowe's, but when you end up going and you ask for it, White Lightning is the smallest thing on here, so nobody could ever find it. But it says 3006 in really big on it, okay? So you end up saying it's the White Lightning that says 3006 on it, okay? This is about $225 to $240 a tube and everything, and I buy it by 12s, obviously in a box of 12. But this is what I use. The good thing is you can use it indoors, outdoors, on doors, windows, siding, anything. Then you can bring it indoors. You can do it around your sinks, your tubs, and everything, okay? So it's indoors and outdoors. All right, now, when you're, the other part is that if you can't find this, then use this one. This was 25-year. This is DAP Alex brand caulk. Every place has this, okay? It's 25 years instead of the 40, so it's just a little bit cheaper, but it's good. It won't fall out and it won't sink in. It's paintable, it's got silicone in it, it's got everything that you want. These also come in colors if something's already painted and everything. Now, why would I end up talking about caulk? Because if you end up putting the wrong caulk on something, number one, you can't paint it if you use the wrong type of caulk. Number two, if it keeps falling in or it doesn't hold up, and it's got to be stretchable. How many of you have ever seen cabinets that were up to the ceiling, and then in the winter, then you see a gap, and in the summer you don't see a gap, okay? You gotta have some sort of decent caulk that's gonna end up being a little bit more stretchable and stuff like that. So these are the two that I use. All right, now as far as a caulking gun, when you use a caulking gun, you wanna have one that does not have grooves under here, okay? There's 7 different kinds of caulking gun that you can use. Some of them they're called skeleton guns, quick release guns, all kinds. You just want the cheapest caulking gun that you can get, okay? It needs a sticker on it that says cheap ass caulking gun right here, right? And what it's gonna do is it's gonna have one of these right here, a quick release on it. Because when you're ending up doing this and you're caulking, if it's got one of these little grooves on here, then you've gotta stop and do this to stop it, and by that time, it's still coming out and it drops on your floor and everything. We've all done that. But see, one of these, you end up doing this, and when you wanna stop, you just press like that and it stops, and you're all good. The other thing is that once you end up having 2 or 3 of these, you teach your contractors to keep 2 or 3 of these things in their tool belt and everything, especially if they're on a ladder. So then if they end up running out, then they can pull this out, drop it, and they've got another 2 ready to go. Or they can keep walking, okay, if they're doing it around the house. But people are going, well, Pete, what about the opening part? We've all done this. We've all grabbed a hold of a tube of caulk, and we haven't got anything to cut it. So we chew on it, we end up scraping it against the concrete, we scrape it on the driveway. When we finally get some sort of a hole there, we find some sort of a tree, bush, branch, sticker bush or something, and pull something off of it and stick it down there, because there's a little tinfoil piece in there that you try and end up doing stuff with it and everything. And then it breaks in there, and then you're, oh my gosh, and you sit there, okay. But a lot of people don't know this about your cheapest caulking gun there is. Not only does it have where it's got the quick release, but it also has this. And most people don't know, it's got a razor blade right in the handle. That when you end up closing it right there, there's their razor blade right there. And if you ever look at the end of a tube of caulk, it's got lines on it that tell you how wide you want that bead to be. 1/16, 1/8, whatever it is that you want, you stick it in there, you line up the angle, and you squeeze that, and it cuts it. How many of you did not know that and everything? Because there's a lot of people that never know that. The other thing is you know how we're always sticking a stick or a twig down there and breaking it? All right, well, on these cheap ones and everything, then they have one of these that you stick in right there. And a lot of people don't know that. So that's why I talk about a caulking gun and the type of caulk and everything, because the wrong caulk and the wrong caulking gun will cost you time and money. Okay, so I'll just pass that one so you can take a look at it. I'm gonna get as many of these in as I can. Okay, this right here, this is one of the coolest things. I get this at Harbor Freight. Okay, if you look at this, this has a blue light or flashlight, okay, or ultraviolet light, okay. When you end up using ultraviolet light, things glow, okay. It makes things glow in the dark. All right, what you use this for is, if you're, has anybody in here ever lived in Arizona or Texas or anything like that? We keep these around to end up, we look in our shoes before we put them on, because scorpions will glow,
And the small ones are the worst.
Scorpions glow and stuff like that. And if you take these and you shoot them in closets, you shoot them in attic spaces and stuff like that, any spiders, any rats, any rodents, anything, their eyes will glow. Okay? So you end up using this. You know what the coolest thing about this thing is that if you end up taking one of these and you turn it on and you turn the lights out in somebody's house, how many of you have had this? I know you got pets in this house that you're renting from me and you didn't pay a pet deposit and you ended up swearing to me that you didn't have pets and everything. And we've seen the neighbors are saying that you've got pets and all this. You need to pay a pet deposit because I know I'm gonna have to replace the carpets. And they go, we don't have no pets. Well, you end up turning out the lights and you end up putting one of these, turn it on and hold it right by your side and walk around the room like this. And anywhere that any living thing has let loose of anything, it will glow bright yellow. Okay? And you can end up going, well, there it is. It's all over the baseboards. It's all over the furniture. It's all over the carpet and everything. So what I do is when I smell pet odors, but I don't know where to treat, then I wait until it's just before dark and everything, and I'll go and I'll end up pointing this at the carpet. I know that wherever it is, I'll end up taking something called Odoban, O-D-O-B-A-N. You get that at Home Depot, $9.99 for a gallon, but it makes 32 gallons. So I only buy it once a year. But once you mix that stuff up, then wherever this glows, which shows that pets have peed or whatever, then you end up treating that spot. Now, keep in mind, if it's this big on the top of the carpet, it's going to be this big or 3 times as big under the carpet because it's going to spread out. So always what I do is I walk around with a box of baking soda and I circle where it glows 3 times the size of what it does. And then when I come in, I mix up my Odoban with the water, and then I'll take a pump up sprayer, one of the garden sprayers, and I will end up saturating that area and then put fans on it, and it will kill the bacteria and dry it out, and it'll have the smell taken out. But these are $8, and they're normally on sale and everything at Harbor Freight. But I like these because, now, there is one thing. Don't take one ever into your hotel room.
You'll never be able to sleep.
Don't look at the mattress. The story about that was I was doing a seminar somewhere and somebody followed me up to my room to get something, and I knew them real well and everything. But anyway, they ended up coming in. They said, so show me how that thing works and everything. I said, we don't want to do it in the hotel and everything. They said, no, I mean, just show me one thing and everything. So I popped the lights off and I turned it on and shined it in the direction and everything. The drapes, even the drapes were glowing. So, okay. So don't ask a question you don't want to know the answer to. Okay. Next thing, these right here. These are called electric receptacle testers, okay? These are so cool because what I do before I call an electrician's gonna tell you it's this much per hour, but it's a service charge of $60, $80, $90 an hour, whatever the case may be where you're at. But whatever it is that we fix when we get there, we'll add that to your fee. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
Okay, so, but what if you had one of these? Now, these come 2 ways. For $2.99, it's a circuit tester, okay? I mean, a diagnostic, okay? Don't get this confused with something that you plug in and if it lights up, you have power. This tells you if it's wired correctly, and if it's not wired correctly, it tells you what's wrong with it, okay? It'll tell you whether there's something in it, okay? So what happens with one of these is you plug it in to the receptacle. If it has two yellow lights next to each other, then it's correct, okay? Then you move on and you just keep plugging it in to wherever. When it gets to something that it shows that there's something wrong, I will take the faceplate off of that electric and I will write down on a Post-it note, this has the open and hot reversed, okay? And then any one that I have this to, then I'll make the note and I'll take the thing off, okay? Now, there's one that's $7.99 that if you have any electric socket that's near water, it's gonna have a GFI breaker on it, okay? This will actually tell you if your GFI is functioning properly, okay? So for $7.99, you can have one of those. But basically, what happens now is, so I call an electrician, the electrician comes in, yep, what did you call us for? Well, instead of him adding $69 and then going and spending an hour diagnosing what's wrong, I end up walking him straight over to here and say, this one's got a hot and ground reverse, this one's got an open neutral, and this one has a bad ground. Well, how did you know that? Well, I used a circuit analyzer, not a circuit tester, a circuit analyzer. He's gonna pull out a slightly more expensive one and plug it in and go, you're right. He's gonna fix it and everything and move on to the next one, move on to the next one. You're gonna pay them for their time and everything, and you just saved yourself literally hundreds of dollars for their time of their diagnostics and everything for under a 10 bucks type thing, okay?
Very good skill.
All right. The other thing. Oh, you know what? Here's one with an accent. By the way, if you don't know how to read one, it tells you right on the top. Whatever the lights light up, it'll tell you what it is. But since I've got one open, let me show you how this works. Two yellow lights means that it's working correctly, okay? So we now know that this is wired correctly. But before I pull it out, I'm gonna wiggle it like this as I'm pulling it out. See that? See that right there? That tells me, yeah, it's wired correctly, but one of those wires is loose. One of the screws is loose. Because if it was all the way tight, I couldn't wiggle it and it would not lose the connection. You follow me? Okay? So it just happens to be, I didn't expect it to be like that, but that's what I do, is I can end up doing that. So that works out great.
Perfect.
All right. Next thing. All right, everybody knows that I end up looking for mold and mildew and all that kind of stuff. I teach mold classes. I give you a certification so that you can go in to vacant bank-owned properties, and if you prove that they have mold in it, then you can make a lower offer based on what it's gonna take to get the mold out, okay? I use one of these for a lot of things. This right here is called an infrared thermometer. You can pay up to 150 bucks for one of these. But this one right here is $19.99 at Harbor Freight, and you probably spend $29.99 at Home Depot to get one of these. All right, whenever I walk into a house, the first thing you do when you walk into a house, if it's got power, I end up turning the dishwasher on 3/4 cycle. I turn the washing machine on 3/4 cycle. I turn the dryer on 3/4 cycle. I turn the heater and air conditioning on at 2 different times and everything, while I'm doing the rest of my inspection. The reason being is, number one, I want to end up making sure that the water gets hot. Turn the water on. Make sure that the water heater's working. You know, if there's power, you should have hot water. You understand? All right. The reason why I end up turning the dishwasher and the washer and dryer and everything on is because while I'm doing everything else, I'll walk in there and I'll stick my hand in and I'll make sure that the dryer's heating up so I know that there's not a bad dryer element. I'll make sure that the water has filled up in the washer. But the reason why I do it 3/4 of the way is because I want to know before I leave that it emptied itself out. Okay, so these are just some things that you do on your way in. Does that make sense? Do stuff on your way in so that while you're doing something else, it lets you know other things.
Save you time.
But other thing is, all right, if it's not blowing below 60, your air conditioner's not running correctly, okay? It needs Freon or it's not working. How do I find this out? Well, there's a return and there's a vent and everything. So what I end up doing is I basically end up shooting this right into the vent, and it's blowing out at 47 degrees, okay? As long as it's below 60, I know that it's blowing air conditioning. If it's blowing above 90, I know it's blowing heat. If it's anywhere in between, I know that there's something not correct about it. You follow me? Okay. The other thing is once this goes off, then let's say I end up looking at this wall right here. This wall is 68 degrees. Okay, everybody see that? 68 degrees. I'll wait for it to go off. I end up coming over to the next wall, and I don't have to move and everything because I can actually do it from anywhere in the room. And then I end up shooting at this wall. That one's 70.5. Okay, so if I shoot this at every room in the wall in the place, but I smell mold, if there's one wall that's 10 degrees or different than the other, I know that there's mold behind there or there's wetness behind the wall. Okay, if I can smell mold, if I can smell mildew, then I need to find where it is. Okay, so the other thing is now that I've seen which wall it's at, then now I'll end up shooting it down towards the baseboard, and if it's colder at the baseboard, then I know that's where it's coming from. All right, so instead of knocking holes in walls, I will end up taking a little circular doorknob hole cutter. Does everybody know what a doorknob hole cutter is? And I will put it on a drill and I will cut a doorknob hole out where it's the coldest. And I'll pull it out, and if it's got black mold or any color mold on the back of it, I know that that needs to be replaced, and that's where the water is. So what I'll do is I'll measure up 4 feet from the carpet or the floor, because sheetrock is 4 feet by 8 feet, 4 feet by 12 feet, 4 feet by 20 feet. Everybody knows it's 4 feet by something. I don't want to have to replace 4 feet by 8, 4 feet by 8, 4 feet by 8, because there's 24 feet down below. But if I measure up 4 feet and I put another hole just below this 4 feet and I pull that doorknob hole out and it does not have mold on it, I know all I have to do is cut out the bottom 4 feet and have my contractor turn the drywall onto the side, and I can end up doing one piece instead of several pieces. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so that should make plenty of sense. Now the other thing is that why did I do little doorknob holes? Because guess what? If you end up taking that doorknob hole back out, it fits perfectly right into that hole that you just cut out. And when you have somebody fix the hole, it's less noticeable than if somebody cut out a square until they found a stud and a stud. You follow me? So all of these things are just little tips and tricks that I pick up over the years and everything. So this right here, a faucet and sink installer. This is made by Rigid, R-I-G-I-D. All right, anybody who's ever replaced a faucet knows that the worst thing in the world is having your hands up in there and you can't end up undoing the little nuts and everything. They're normally square nuts or box nuts and everything. Well, this right here has 19 different size nuts that you can end up doing on these, okay? So it does, and it'll turn on and off the water so that you stop the water. It replaces garbage disposals, it replaces the sink strainers, anything to do with plumbing. This is it for $19.99. The other thing is the water pipe itself, the actual water is normally in your way and your hands are trying to get behind the well and you can't reach it. This slides, you put it right on the piece of water pipe and it slides right up. and then you fit it to whatever square thing this is, and you hold on to it from the bottom and unscrew it. And if you need leverage, you put this in the bottom of it and put a screwdriver in there, and now you have twice the leverage if it's too tight for you. But you're actually doing everything under the well now. So even if you don't do this stuff, if you bought one of these for your plumber, they think you're the greatest dude in the world, or chick in that case. So, but you see how you can actually use the actual water pipe itself to end up guiding you up there. It's not in the way anymore. So these are cool things.
Home Depot.
Yeah, everything I'm talking about is Home Depot.
Question.
Yes, go ahead. An infrared thermometer. Infrared thermometer. As a matter of fact, I've got one that's still in the box, so that you can, y'all feel free to take pictures of these if you want. Yep. Okay, if you're looking for something to give to somebody that you don't know what to get them one of these, all right? This could be a 5-in-1 tool. There's called 5-in-1, 6-in-1, 7-in-1, goes all the way up to 15-in-1, 16-in-1. I just end up getting one of these. They don't have these in the store anymore, okay? The ones that they have in the store look like this, okay? I don't need this little this little nut piece right here, or this nut piece and all that, because I just don't need this. Order this one online. It's by Sureline, SHUR-LINE. It should cost you about $10, okay? Here's why I like this, and I'll do this over this way so everybody can see. Okay, so let's say that it's got some, whenever I paint, I always ask the guys or the girls, rub your hands on the walls. If there's something on there that doesn't feel good, scrape it off. So here's a scraper. So it takes off the little bumps that are on there. Now I'm gonna have a smooth surface. All right, see the little dent that's in there? All right, if it needs putty, turn it around to the other side and put it in your spackling, and now you can putty the knives. If it's got a nail hanging out and you can't pull it out, then it's got a hammer on the back. And you hammer the nail right back in. If the nail is wiggling, it'll wiggle, but you can't pull it out with your fingers, then stick the head through here, and this has a nail puller, pull it through and then push down, and when you lift up, that pries the nail out, okay? All right, if you're trying to take caulk out of the corner, you could end up putting this point right here and go this way, and this point right here and go this way, and then peel the caulk out. And now you've taken out the old caulk. The other thing is that everybody buys paint in 5-gallon buckets. It's got little notches around the lid. If you end up taking this and you put it in the little notch and hit it like this, then go 4 inches over, there's another notch. Stick that in and hit it like that. When you do all of the notches, you put your knee in the center of the 5-gallon bucket, and the air goes and goes out, and then you lift up the 2 pieces that you cut the 2 sides off, and you lift the lid off, okay? Now, if you end up having a gallon can of paint and you don't have a screwdriver to open it, then this opens it up. You stick that in like a screwdriver, okay? Now, before I move on, let me show you this. The first thing when somebody's painting, when you come into a room, the first thing that somebody has in a room is the light switch, correct? Nowadays, everybody that gets a place painted, you don't paint just white anymore. That's not the thing. Remember back in the day, they used to say, always paint all your rentals antique white, and then you'll always have the right paint, no matter what use. It doesn't work like that anymore. So what I do is, whenever somebody is going to paint, I say, you must take these off, because I want them to, okay? I don't want paint on them and everything. But anyway, so once they pull these things off, my renters lose half my paint, or I run out of paint, or something. So what I do is I end up saying, all right, once they pull one of those off, I tell my painters, take a piece of masking tape and put it on the back of this faceplate in every room that you paint a different color. And I want you to stick your finger in it and rub a paint sample on the back of that masking tape, and then write on the back of it that it's Behr, B-E-H-R, and the color number of it. So that way I can, if I ever want to touch up that room or paint that room and I can't find the paint, I can call Sherwin-Williams or Behr or whatever, or Home Depot, and say, I need a gallon of such and such, and they go, oh, well, we don't have that formula in our records anymore. Do you have a way to give me a sample? I do. So I end up taking this off and I take it to them, and they computer match to the piece that's on the back, okay? So
That's a great thing.
that right there.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the other thing about this is, okay, so I also end up wanting the doorknobs, because I don't want people thinking that they're professional enough to paint around my doorknobs, because I've been painting for 45 years and I still get it on the doorknobs. So I always unscrew the doorknobs, not all the way, but just enough to pull them out, so that I can have my painters paint the door without getting anything on there. So if you end up looking at this one, and this is why I like the Sureline, it's because when you press this button, that pops up. And there's two magnetic things right here. One's a Phillips head and one's a flathead. The Phillips head is what takes off the actual doorknobs. Doorknobs are Phillips head, but these electric sockets are all flatheads. So you just end up putting that on here, and you end up taking that off and everything. And then for the doorknobs, you just flip it over, and you'll never lose a screw because these are magnetic, okay? And the other thing is that it's got the beer opener, which you know it's gotta have a beer opener. And the one last thing, how many of you sat there and had a roller cover in the sink for 25 minutes trying to get the paint out of it, but didn't know that you could do this right here? As you're rinsing it. So that's why I always give one of these to somebody just to throw in their back pocket and everything. There's only one thing better than carrying one of these, and that's a switchblade, and then I need getting those out.
Oh, man.
That was more than 16.
Yeah, that's a 12-in one.
Also, if your freezer, you got an extra freezer, it's got too much ice in it, just what you can use to chip up all the ice.
Yeah, that right there. That does perfect. Does perfect to get all the ice out. Now, while I've got a roller cover in my hand, okay, the reason why I like roller covers is simply this. All right, everybody ends up buying bulk roller covers, right? Nobody wants to buy the expensive roller covers and everything that are $7, $8, $9, $10, $15 a piece and everything, and then wash them out and use them over and over again because it takes too long to wash them. We all end up buying the packs of the ones that are like 6 for $10 or $12. How many of you have ever been rolling and the cover come off and literally fall off? The reason being is when you buy bulk roller covers, you have to look on the inside and make sure that it's plastic on the inside, because some of the cheaper ones are cardboard. If you're using water-based paint or latex paint, then the water soaks into the cardboard. After you've put pressure on it for about 2 or 3 walls, then it gets all wallowed out and everything, and it'll fall off. But as long as you have plastic on the inside there, then you can end up using plastic ones and everything. So that works out great. Okay. Thanks, man. So this right here is a moisture meter, okay? The one cool thing about a moisture meter is if I end up knowing that there's mold in the house, I'm gonna track it down by this. And I want to end up being able to dry it out, okay? Now, a lot of us end up having to where there's some sort of a pipe break in the house. If you can find out where that pipe break is and you can get that thing dried up within 2 or 3 days, then you won't get mold and you'll stop yourself from having a big thing. So that's why having one of these moisture meters comes in handy. Now you can get one for as little as $29, or you can spend a couple of $100 and everything. I end up finding one that's just, my normal one is a Ryobi. It's a lime green one and it's flat. This one was one that I just picked up. This one's made by General. I got it at Harbor Freight because my other one, somebody needed it more than I did at one of the places I was at. But what's cool about this is, and I'll just show you a couple of things. You just put this against the wall and it'll tell you if there's water, okay? So it tells you by green lights and what's on here, whether it has any water. Now, I'm gonna go someplace where I know that there's water, over by the sink. Alright, and so I can end up running through here, and it ends up picking up, there's water in here. Alright, and now, let me end up showing you one more thing. Hold your hand out. Your body is almost, is over 90% water and everything. And, so, I wasn't gonna tell you that, but not only does it have this on here, but, you know, we need you, I shot you, we did the red.
Perfect, that's gonna give me.
But I knew that just by
If they're in trouble.
So anyway, so look, if you look at this and see what you do, so let's say that you have water that had leaked on there and now you've got fans blowing on it and heaters blowing on it. This monitors how fast it gets dry. If you can dry it within 3 days, then you won't get mold. That's the normal rule. All right, so if you have one of these and it says it's 100%, then you end up drying it for a couple of hours, and now it says that it's 72%. You see that? And then you end up going a little bit more, and now it says that it's in the green, and it's under 25% wet. Does everybody follow me? Now we're at 3%. You've dried it. You're good. This can monitor your drying process. So for just a small amount of money, you can end up deciding whether your water leak is gonna turn into a big problem or whether you fixed it, okay? So that's why this is so important.
I like that.
All right, we got about 15 more minutes. Here's some of my favorite things, all right? So, can everybody see that door that's closed right there, the one that's got the metal on it? Can everybody see that? Laura, can you see that door over there? Okay, all right, get where you can see it just for a second. All right, this right here is a 3M hand masker. It's $19.99. This is a 12-inch paper, okay? This is $5.99 to $6.99, depending on where you get it. Always get 12-inch paper. The reason being is because doors and windows are 12, 24, 36, 48. They're in 12s. So that means that if you buy 12s, you're gonna be equal, okay? But watch what this does, okay? All right, number one. Let's say that I needed this door to be usable, but we were going to paint it, okay? So I end up taking this. And now I end up taping off what I don't want paint on, and then I fold this up underneath here, and then put masking tape on the bottom of it, Everybody see this?
Yep.
Now, can my painters brush, roll, or spray as fast as they want?
Yep.
And when I move this, it's gonna be a perfect paint line, whether a 12-year-old did it or a 25-year painter did it, because it's gonna be the tape line. Do we agree? All right, now, the reason why I did it like this and taped it underneath is because now the door's usable, okay? The door's usable. Even if it's wet paint, you have something right here that says, wet paint only touch the bar. Wet paint only, all right, now watch this. What if somebody was gonna paint behind here? What if you ended up doing this? Stick this behind here, and then you take your paintbrush and move it up and down with you, and then you don't get any paint on this little piece that's right here, and then when you're done painting, you just pull it off, okay? Now, if you look right here, this is stained. I don't want paint on it. So I end up taking my paint gun, my paint machine, and I take this off. Now my painters can brush, roll, and spray as fast as they want, and this be white and this be stained. All right, now if I wanna paint this dark blue and this is white, then I end up doing it the other way, and I take it this way, and now I can paint this, and the two colors will have a perfect line in between them, no matter whether it was a professional painter or not, because it's the paint line. Does everybody follow me on that? So this is just ingenious stuff and everything. It's really cool. Now, let me show you something else. What if I want to cover this up? Everybody follow me? All I do is I tape around it and everything. Now this is covered up. I can end up taking off my windows. I can end up taking off anything. Let me show you one more. Y'all like this?
Yeah, I like it.
That's pretty cool right there. Let me show you something else.
Oh, we have it?
This is a ProMask
Said you when I was a kid.
ProMask 2000.
Right. Used to help my
Let me show you something pretty cool about this. This is $9.99. Ordered online. It's got a little brush on there. The reason why it's got two sides is so that you can end up doing it right-handed or left-handed. I'm gonna do this right-handed, but watch this. My painter's no good, and I wanna make sure that he doesn't get anything on here. So I take whatever size tape, all the way from 4 inches to whatever, I put it against the wall, and I press the tape against the wall. I just lined it up, you follow me? Then I get it right here, and I start the tape with my finger, and then I just put my fingers on here, and as fast as I can walk, then I just taped it off. And then if I want to do doors, I can end up, I can go up the door like this, because I can go up the door like this, and then at the top, I can actually flip it over without breaking the tape. And go all the way around and do the baseboards all the way around, okay? It takes you a couple of minutes to learn how to use it, but this is so cool. And like I say, you don't have to do this yourself, as long as you can show somebody else how to do it. And yes, I have videos showing people how to do it, but I'm just showing you. All right, the next thing. Let's go with this one here. All right, let's do something fun here.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
This is the same thing. This is the same thing as I had on the blue one, except this is 3M hand master film. 3M hand master film. So normally I would have a step ladder, and I'm not tall enough to do this. But let me just end up putting it to you like this. Or, well, I'll do it right here. So, let's say that I was gonna take this off. Okay, does everybody know about the lead-based paint rules and all that? You have to cover these doors completely. Does everybody know that? All right, now watch this. Let's say that this was a popcorn ceiling. You have to spray popcorn ceilings because if you roll them, they'll come down on your head. So if you had cabinets, countertops, and cabinets, then you'd need to cover this stuff up while somebody sprayed this. So if you did this all the way across the top, then you end up reaching up under here and you pull down once, see you later, man, twice, 3 times, 4 times. And now you've covered completely the countertops, the cabinets, and everything. Because this is 4 feet, but they have one that's 4 feet, one that's 8 feet, and one that's 12 feet that fits on that machine, okay? They're about $19 for a roll of it, and it's 60 yards. But let's say that I did it from here to here, and then took it all the way to the ground and then taped it to the ground. Now, all I'd need to do is take a razor knife and cut a little flap down through it and put another piece like this over the top that I can lift up and walk through the slit and let this go. You have now met your EPA lead-based paint and mold regulations. Everybody follow me?
Yeah,
Is this cool?
very cool.
So that, all right, we got a couple more and then I'll let y'all get out of here. Okay, this right here, I always want people to keep the water 4 feet away from your house. If you end up having your water 4 feet away from the house, then you're not gonna end up getting a bunch of water issues inside your house, okay? But the trick is for 4 feet away from your house. So this right here, does everybody know what a cable tie is? One of those little plastic things that you stick through and you go zip. Some people call it a zip tie, and then you can't break it and everything. Like if somebody parks really, really bad at Walmart and it makes me mad, I'll pull a zip tie out of the back of my car and I'll go and I'll take a shopping cart and I'll zip tie it to their door handle.
Oh, wow.
Because then they'll have to go inside and borrow somebody's clippers to, no, I don't really do that, but.
No, of course not.
That's a great trick though.
But anyway, to get this 4 feet away from your house, see, a lot of people end up buying those black tubes. And then you gotta move them to cut the grass or have somebody cut the grass and all that. Nowadays, you can get your gutter people to actually cut a little V and actually have 4 feet more or 5 feet or whatever, and you can actually put it on a pivot and actually lift it up and drop it back down. Okay, so that's the new thing, but that costs you the same amount per foot as it does for your gutters and downspouts, so it's a little more expensive. But for $7.99, you can end up buying one of these. You put the bottom of the downspout in here, you tie it up with a zip tie, and then when water comes down, you'll just hold your hand
Works
back.
like an accordion. Yeah, it just
Water
goes out.
water comes down and it unrolls it with the weight of the water. It's got holes all in through here. This won't hit you.
I know.
But when you're done, it rolls back up because there's no weight of the water in there.
That's wonderful stuff.
So that's $7.99. But you don't get it where the gutters and downspouts are. You get it in the gardening department, okay? There's been a million people that's called me up and said, Pete, I went looking for those things and they say that you're crazy. And they said, they've never seen you in their Home Depot. And I ended up going, okay, that's bull, because I've been in everyone. But the other thing is you get it in the garden department, okay? So it's a gardening thing. But they're $7.99. Here's something that's really cool. This is made by Homax, Homax, okay? What I like about this is most people are always worried about fixing the holes in the walls and the holes in the ceilings. You know what one of the hardest things to fix is? when somebody had a hanging basket from the ceiling and it had one of those little hook things in there, and you try and pull it out, and if you try and pull it out and everything, then you make the hole bigger and it's worse. If you unscrew it, then it takes you 35 minutes because for some reason the screws are this long. And everybody who's faced this knows what I'm talking about. But see, just for small holes in walls and stuff like that, then there's something that's called texture patch, made by Homax. It's in the paint department, okay? It has 3 or 4 different types of things in here. There's different types of texture on the wall. One's called lemon peel. One's called orange peel. The other one is called knockdown and stuff like that. If I have something on the wall and there's a hole in there and I filled it and it keeps going back down and I have a problem with it, then what I'll do is I'll end up taking one of these and I will match it to the texture of whatever it is, and then I will pull it off, and you just peel it off and stick it on there and paint over the top of it, and it blends in. Okay? So I'll pass these around.
That's cool.
And you can cut them in pieces. You can get them in bigger or smaller. Let me put this in the pack so they end up seeing that.
Yeah, of course it is.
Is this usable information for anybody?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. By the way, did everybody end up scanning so that you get your,
We only got that one.
okay.
Pass it around so everybody can scan it.
Yep, just scan it and you'll get it'll put a discount card on your phone. And for those of you who don't have one or don't get time to do it, send me something, I'll email you mine. It's the same number and everything because it's for this organization. It's not for you individually, it's because you're a part of this organization. And you just end up pulling it up on your phone, and it tells the cashier exactly how to ring everything up, and you get stuff for half price and all kinds of stuff. It tells you on there what it's all about. Let's see if there was something else that I really wanted to show you. Oh yeah, here's a couple of things. You don't always have to have a plumber to fix a plumbing thing. Let's say that you ended up having access to a pipe and you see the split on it, okay? And the split's only ½ an inch or an inch. So you can cut that piece out or have somebody hire a handyman to cut it out and then go get something called a shark bite. A shark bite is one of these things right here. They start at $5.99. They go up to $50, okay? They have T-shaped, they have right angle, left angle, whatever angle that you want. They end up having them to where you can end up connecting the top of a water heater in 10 seconds and everything. It basically works like this, okay? Any 2 types of pipe that you want, PEX, copper, any type of PVC, any of these will fit together with one of these. You can put 2 different kinds together, but as long as it clicks, then you're good. You can't pull it apart, and this meets code. Try and pull it apart. Go ahead. Now, now I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or anything, but there used to be some sort of handcuffs that used to put your 2 fingers in,
Yeah.
and then you couldn't pull it, okay, and then you couldn't get them off. And it's like the same thing, okay? But I will show you this. Let's say that, oh, well, you know what? I do want to end up doing something with it. So it always comes, whatever size you buy, it comes with one of these, or you can buy one of these if you end up losing it. But you just push down on it, and now it redoes it. And as long as it locks, just pull towards it. Isn't that cool? And those are great. All right. This right here, this comes in handy for a lot of good stuff. I meant to put new batteries in this, but I asked somebody to do it, and they ended up saying that they bought the wrong batteries. But what this is this is a Measure Master. The reason why I like Measure Masters is simply for this. What if I was gonna end up doing the flooring in this room? I could end up going to this wall right here. I end up putting it against here. I press the button and it ends up shooting to that back wall. And it tells me the length from this wall to that wall. Then I end up going to this wall over here and I press a button and it goes to that wall. And since there's only 4 walls in here and nothing in between it, I would end up doing calculate square footage of flooring. And it would give me an answer of how much square footage I needed of that flooring. It does the same thing if you're painting. Do the walls. How tall are the walls? How long are the walls? How many walls? And then that'll tell you how many square feet there is that you're covering. You can look on the back of any can of paint and it tells you that it's 350 to 400 feet per gallon. Then you don't buy too many gallons of paint, okay? And stuff like that. But these are really, really cool, and they're like $15.99.
There's a new appraisal tool
Yes,
that you can walk through, and when you get through making all your measurements, you plug it in, it does the floor plan and figures the square footage.
yeah, that's really cool. There is one that you can end up actually keying all the information in, and if you hook it up, if you do it to your computer, then it prints you out a printout of exactly what you need. All right, now the other thing is simply this. All right, if you're getting an estimate from somebody and they're let's say you're getting an estimate for a roof, and somebody ends up saying, okay, well it's gonna be $20,000, and you go, okay, well how many squares are you supplying for that $20,000? How many squares is it? Then you can divide that number of squares by how many feet by the price that they have, and you can get a price per square. And then you can call around to your local dealerships and everything like I've told you to do. And if you call and say, someone's charging me X amount of dollars per square for materials and labor of this type of shingle, is that in line with what the going rate is? And you can find out whether somebody is high or low, or whether that's about average. So that's just a way that you can end up figuring out. As long as you can get it into the terms that they know, like if it's for flooring and stuff and roofing, that's squares, okay? Roofing is always squares and everything. If you're talking about building something, it's always by the square foot. If you're talking about something that's long and skinny, like gutters or trim work or something like that, that's linear feet, okay? So always get it into their particular length and how they're measuring it, and then divide how many that they're charging you for by what the price is, and you'll find out what they are charging per unit, or linear foot, square foot, or whatever, okay? And then you'll find out whether you're being overcharged or undercharged, okay? So
You'll never be undercharged.
yeah. Very rarely we
You guys will do that, you go broke real quick.
All right, here's a couple of things real quick, and then I'll let y'all go. How many of you have been inside cabinets or in places to where you really needed to get a screw gun in there or a screwdriver, but you couldn't? Well, if you end up hooking this up to your screw gun, then this bends in any direction that you want to. And you can put it on tighten or loosen, and you can put hex bolts in here, or Phillips head or flathead, whatever it is that you want. I use it mostly for cabinets, so that I can end up getting behind cabinets and stuff like that. And I just use it, and this will end up spinning with your drill gun and everything. And these are $9.99, and they're just really cool. So those work out.
I've never seen something quite like that.
All right, a couple of things real quick. This right here is called a Whiz Roller, W-H-I-Z-Z, Whiz Roller, okay? One thing about Whiz Rollers is simply this. I can end up painting gutters and downspouts on a 2-story house from the ground. And a lot of people don't, they go, what? Well, see, this right here is 4 inches, and it's also got, the nap on the edge, right here. So it's on the edge, and it's on here. This is 4 inches. So people go, how can you end up controlling it? Well, a regular roller extension pole is 6 feet normally, and then it'll extend to 12 feet, or you can get other dimensions. But if I'm not 6 feet tall, but with a 12-foot extension and me 5'7", I can end up getting a 2-story house and everything. Well, it goes like this. Let's say that this is the gutter itself. So I have this on a roller extension pole because it's got the screw things in here. And I dip it in a bucket with a little screen in it. And I end up getting the excess off like this. And then I lift it up and I end up rolling across like this, the front of the gutters. Okay, so somebody says, well, Pete, what happens if you end up, since you're so far below it, what if it comes over the top and you end up doing like this and you lose control over it? People don't know this, but residential gutters are 5 inches wide. So if this is only 4 inches long and you end up lipping it at the top, this can only come 4 inches and it's gonna hit here, stop it short anyway, and it's 5 inches wide. So you're not gonna hit the gutter, the shingles. Everybody follow me?
Yeah.
Okay, the other thing is this, since it's got the felt on here, then I can end up rolling underneath like this and it cuts in the fascia board. Now I roll it like this and it paints the fascia board. Here's the downspout. Everybody who's ever seen downspouts knows that there's a little bit of a gap in between it and the siding. But if you put this against it, then it keeps you just enough away from it that you can paint the side of this and the side of this. So you paint those and then you paint the front. That's how you do that. Now, what do I really like these things for? How many of you have ever ruined a paintbrush by trying to paint behind the water tank of a toilet? Because you go from every different direction. But these come in this size, they come in this size, they come in this size. And if you lift the water tank top off and go from the top and the side and the underneath, then you can paint behind any toilet without taking the toilet out. You don't have to move refrigerators, because every time I move a refrigerator to paint behind it, then the ice machine always leaks. I don't move washers and dryers. I paint behind them with one of these, okay? The only time they're ever gonna see something is if they move it and I didn't quite go all the way, so it leaves a landing strip. Who cares? Who cares? You know, let them paint it when they move it out if they want something like that. So, but anyway, so isn't that cool to be able to paint that? The other thing is that when I'm painting doors, see the hinges right here? If I ended up having hinges just right here, there's something that's called rubber cement, okay? There's rubber cement and there's rubber what? There's 2 kinds. Rubber cement and rubber, what's the other thing? It comes in a brush, it comes in a tin can, you unscrew it, and it's got a paintbrush in it. Rubber cement and rubber. Okay, it's not rubber glue, okay? It's what it is when you end up taking these, I end up taking it and I'll paint these with the rubber, and I'm gonna look it up and everything because I knew what I wanted to say before I walked over here and now I can't. But, so once it ends up drying, then I can end up using one of these and paint in here and paint these as fast as I want and everything. And I can get as much as I want on here because it turns into a rubber and you just peel it off and peel it like a mask off. So, I don't know why I can't think of what it's called, but
Oh, see you moment.
yeah, exactly. And then there's this. What I use these for, and then I'll let y'all go. Is, to do what? Yeah, you can get stuff out of the oven with it. But what I like this for is wrought iron fences. Anytime that you have wrought iron, that's the hardest stuff there is to paint, and it's the longest taking thing that you ever have. So I get 2 of these. These are called paint mitts. They're $3.99 a piece. And I end up getting 1 for each hand, and then I'll get one of those plastic inserts where you get 4 for $1. And it's just the plastic insert. I don't even get the piece that the insert goes into, just the cheap insert. And I'll put black paint or whatever your wrought iron color is, and I'll pour some in there, and it's just a little roller pan, the old fashioned roller pan, just the little plastic. And I'll dip this hand in and dip this hand in and take the excess off of the edges right there. And I'll have knee pads on, okay? Because I have bad knees. Mine are the plastic ones. But what I'll do is wherever this wrought iron fence is, it can be 4 acres in front of a whole house, or it can be going up and down somebody's stairwell or something. But I end up taking the top handle and I end up grabbing it with both hands, and as fast as I can walk, I'm painting the top. And I'll walk back and I'll walk forth. That's 2 coats. I'll dip it again, rub the excess off. On my knees, I've got those knee pads. I'll end up grabbing a hold of the balusters or the little pickets on the inside. I'll grab them from the bottom. I'll go up, down, backwards, underneath. Then move over on my knees. Up, down, on the top, then underneath. Up, down, on the top, then underneath. Move over, up, and then I'll dip it again when I start running out of paint. And in 10 to 15 minutes, I can paint the entire wrought iron baptistry. So y'all like these? Those are cool.
Just in case we don't come across some wrought iron, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in Texas, where they have wrought iron on all their
Everywhere,
fences
yeah.
and everything, well, what I did out there is I could charge a lot more. But what I would do, and maybe a couple of y'all have heard of this, you can actually charge paint. And what I did was I charged paint out there, and people would pay me just to watch me do this. But there's paint out there called electrostatic paint that you can have them charge the paint. And what you'll do is you'll turn your paint sprayer down to a real low setting, and then what you'll do is you'll sit there and you'll spray the front of the wrought iron fence as you're doing this, and it's just a puffing the paint on there, and it goes past it. The stuff that doesn't hit the wrought iron goes past it, and then it twirls around and it paints the backside.
No way.
Because it's magnetic.
That's really cool.
And and look, if this was rock work right here, and I sprayed it at the rock work, it would hit the metal, and not the rock work. I mean, I would have to adjust it a little bit, but it would go straight to the metal and everything. But it literally curls around and paints the back. But that's expensive. So anyway, so
Nice to know there's something out there.
that's your tools training for the night. So I hope you like it.